When you hold absolute power in a regime built on strict control, layers of political intrigue, and even brutal internal purges, the absence of trust becomes inevitable, especially when those around you, whether officials or family members, can at any moment become the next victims or pawns sacrificed for the sake of power. That's the reality that overshadows North Korea's leadership, and Kim Jong-un serves as its clearest embodiment, a man who neither inspires trust nor expects to receive it. And yet, behind the scenes, there's one person watching the supreme leader's every move with unwavering loyalty and quiet ambition. That person is Kim Yo-jong, his enigmatic, cold, and dangerously calculating younger sister, often seen with a slight, knowing smirk on her face. While her role remained obscure for many years, her influence has grown steadily and unmistakably with time. Kim Yo-jong first drew international attention in 2009, at a time when their father, former leader Kim Jong-il, was suffering from serious health issues. However, back then, her identity and position were kept tightly under wraps, leaving almost no trace in official records or state communications. By 2011, a striking image of her wiping away tears at her father's funeral caught the public eye. It wasn't just an emotional family moment, it was the first subtle signal to the outside world that Kim Yo-jong held a position of real power within the inner circle. The most telling moment came when she abruptly left the funeral mid-ceremony, an act that, had it been committed by anyone else in North Korea, would likely have led to harsh punishment. But for her, there were no consequences, no one questioned her, no one dared speak against her. So who is Kim Yo-jong, the powerful woman operating behind her brother's shadow? What do we really know about her mysterious early life? Information about her childhood remains largely unknown, with only fragmented details revealed by those once close to the Kim family. One such person is Kenji Fujimoto, the former personal chef to Kim Jong-il. According to Fujimoto, Kim Yo-jong was pampered from a young age and was affectionately referred to as the princess of the family. She maintained a close relationship with both of her older brothers, Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-chul, but it was Kim Jong-un with whom she formed the strongest bond. The two even attended school together in Switzerland, under false identities, surrounded by tight security and secrecy. After 2012, as Kim Jong-un solidified his rule, Kim Yo-jong began appearing more frequently at major political events. She gradually climbed the ranks within the Workers' Party of Korea, the country's ruling and only legal party. Starting from a mid-level position, she eventually rose to become a key figure in the propaganda and agitation department, the arm of the government responsible for managing state messaging and national image. In that role, she held the authority to approve the content of all newspapers and state-run media outlets. And with that power came the emergence of a bold, sharp personality that the world could no longer ignore. Kim Yo-jong began making her presence known, not only within North Korea's political machine but also on the international stage. The president of South Korea was once publicly insulted by Kim Yo-jong through North Korean state media, where she referred to him as a trembling dog afraid of its own shadow, along with scathing remarks such as a foolish, shameless puppet being manipulated by the United States. But she didn't stop at verbal attacks. Kim Yo-jong has repeatedly issued thinly veiled threats of war. One of her most infamous statements declared, "If South Korea dares to violate even an inch of our territory, our nuclear force will carry out its duty." With her authoritarian language, icy demeanor, and growing political clout, Kim Yo-jong is steadily positioning herself as one of the most powerful and feared figures within North Korea's secretive ruling apparatus. From Pyongyang's perspective, former US President Barack Obama was long seen as a major thorn in their side, not just because of his policies, but also due to his background. The regime's propaganda machine targeted Obama with deeply racist language, laced with personal insults and venomous rhetoric. Over time, the tone of North Korean state media became increasingly hostile, filled with offensive, hateful commentary that embraced sexism, racial prejudice, and LGBTQ+ discrimination, reflecting the regime's deeply conservative and extremist worldview. One of the most shocking incidents involving an American citizen in North Korea occurred in 2016. When Otto Warmbier, a U.S. college student, was arrested after allegedly trying to remove a propaganda poster featuring Kim Jong-un from a hotel wall. Not long after his arrest, Otto mysteriously fell into a coma caused by an unexplained neurological condition. It took 17 months for him to be returned to the United States, still unconscious and beyond recovery. Tragically, Otto passed away on June 19, 2017, sparking global outrage and unimaginable grief for his family. Although North Korea denied any wrongdoing, U.S. investigators concluded that Otto's death was a direct result of torture and inhumane treatment. His father later gave an emotional interview, in which he accused a particular figure he believed was involved. "I saw her eyes. That was the look of someone purely evil. She's not just a criminal, she's a murderer. And the bitter irony? She happens to be a woman." History has shown that true power often resides not with those in the spotlight, but with those who operate behind closed doors. From secret police agencies and totalitarian regimes to backroom political operatives, many of the world's most influential figures have pulled strings in silence, unseen and unnamed by the public. In the digital age, this kind of invisible power is no longer confined to politics or military affairs. Today, your personal data, your name, email address, even your phone number, might already be circulating among data brokers. These companies collect and sell user data, often without your knowledge or consent. It's a modern form of surveillance capitalism, a hidden form of control that most people never see, but that fuels a multi-billion-dollar industry behind the scenes. Back on the Korean peninsula, beginning in 2018, Kim Yo-jong began to step out from her brother's shadow. Asserting a more prominent role on the political stage, she started appearing frequently at diplomatic engagements, accompanying Kim Jong-un at high-level events, something no other member of the ruling family had ever dared to do so publicly. While there have been speculations about potential successors, such as Kim Jong-un's daughter Ju-ae or seasoned figures like Chairman Cho Ryong-hae, only Kim Yo-jong has consistently appeared by the supreme leader's side at secret meetings, critical negotiations, and during the most politically tense moments. She is no longer just a figure operating behind the scenes. Instead, she has shown her influence openly, particularly through her relentless verbal assaults on South Korean President Moon Jae-in. With fierce rhetoric and an uncompromising stance, Kim Yo-jong has become the regime's de facto spokesperson for its most hardline positions. By the time Donald Trump became president of the United States, Kim Yo-jong was no longer an unknown entity. She played a key role in the historic Singapore summit, where Kim Jong-un and President Trump met face-to-face for the first time. Although she didn't sit at the negotiating table officially, Kim Yo-jong was present for all high-level exchanges, a first-ever precedent for any woman in North Korea's ruling elite. What was striking was her bold and almost smug confidence, casually walking around the private suites of the St. Regis Hotel, where the summit was held, wearing her signature half-smile, as if she were the one controlling the entire situation. No diplomatic protocol seemed to apply to her, because in one of the most repressive regimes on earth, Kim Yo-jong is an exception to every rule. Despite reaching the pinnacle of power and being seen as the closest person to Kim Jong-un, Kim Yo-jong has not been immune to the political undercurrents within the North Korean regime, a place where even absolute loyalty isn't always enough to guarantee lasting safety. In 2019, the second U.S.-North Korea summit held in Hanoi ended in a major diplomatic failure. The two parties left the negotiating table without signing any agreements, and Kim Jong-un was reportedly furious, showing rare public signs of anger. Hopes for a peaceful resolution evaporated almost instantly. Shortly afterward, various diplomatic sources reported that a quiet but brutal internal purge had taken place. Several senior advisors and close aides were punished harshly. Some were even believed to have been executed, sacrificed as scapegoats for the embarrassment in Hanoi. However, what drew even more attention was Kim Yo-jong's sudden and prolonged disappearance. A woman who had consistently been at the supreme leader's side during every critical political event vanished from public view for months, raising serious questions both at home and abroad. She did not accompany her brother on the diplomatic mission to Russia's Far East, a trip widely viewed as strategic and symbolically significant. Her absence at the time led many observers to believe that even North Korea's enigmatic woman of power could not escape the consequences of such a humiliating diplomatic failure. Yet Kim Yo-jong didn't disappear for good. By October of that same year, she made a dramatic return in one of the most symbolic and choreographed displays imaginable, riding a white horse alongside her brother atop the snow-covered slopes of Mount Paektu, a site considered the most sacred place in North Korean mythology. Believed to be the birthplace of the Kim dynasty, out of the 25 official photos released by state media, Kim Yo-jong appeared in 6. But one photo stood out above the rest, showing the siblings riding side by side. Both horses adorned with a silver 5-pointed star, the official insignia of the ruling Kim family, a symbol so exclusive that even First Lady Ri Sol-ju has never been permitted to wear it. The message could not have been clearer. She is the closest, she is fully trusted, she is the likely successor. Since that moment, Kim Yo-jong hasn't just returned, she's come back stronger and more assertive than ever before. Her language has grown sharper, her demeanor more aggressive, and her confidence in her own authority has reached new heights. She is no longer just the shadow behind Kim Jong-un, but has emerged as a strategic weapon in North Korea's arsenal of propaganda and deterrence. One of the clearest demonstrations of this came in 2020, when defector groups based in South Korea launched anti-regime leaflets into the north, attaching them to balloons that drifted across the demilitarized zone, DMZ. The incident triggered a furious response from Kim Yo-jong. But instead of limiting herself to empty statements, she exercised real power, publicly condemning South Korea, accusing Seoul of aiding rebellious elements, and soon afterward, ordering the total demolition of the Inter-Korean Liaison Office in Kaesong, a rare symbol of hope for reconciliation between the two Koreas. She didn't hesitate to issue extreme declarations like, "South Korea is nothing more than a pack of dogs trained by the United States. They act insanely, provoking a nation armed with nuclear weapons like ours. They should be afraid. No one can predict how our wrath will unfold." As tensions between North and South continued to escalate, Kim Yo-jong showed no signs of backing down. She issued public threats of retaliation, maintained her position like a tigress, guarding the regime, and further solidified her image as a formidable future leader, one the world can no longer afford to underestimate. In 2022, Kim Yo-jong sent shockwaves through the international community with a series of statements that carried a grave and unmistakable tone of threat. She didn't just imply, she explicitly outlined North Korea's nuclear strike scenario against South Korea. Her message left no room for misinterpretation. If Seoul crossed the red line, the consequence would be nuclear catastrophe. This wasn't merely a regional threat, it was a direct warning to the world that North Korea was willing to escalate, and not the least bit afraid to do so. From that point on, Kim Yo-jong solidified her role as the regime's war goddess of words. With icy rhetoric, she wielded a toxic blend of psychological warfare, personal insults, and military threats to reinforce her brother's grip on power. Each statement she made hit with sharp, aggressive precision, most often targeting South Korea and the United States. America, North Korea's longtime nemesis, gradually became her primary target. Joint U.S.-South Korea military exercises were denounced as disguised acts of aggression, labeled sparks of war, and more than once, Kim warned of unpredictable retaliation if the provocations continued. As New Year's Eve 2024 arrived, a moment heavy with symbolism, Kim Yo-jong made a surprising appearance with 2 children at her side. The image instantly ignited speculation. Were these the heirs to the Kim dynasty? Was she not only the chosen successor, but also laying the foundation for the dynasty's next generation? By 2025, the region's political landscape was once again shaken, this time by the unexpected impeachment of South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, the successor to Moon Jae-in. While South Korean media reeled and public opinion struggled to process the shock. Across the border, Kim Yo-jong appeared disturbingly calm, wearing a sly smile as if she were savoring a geopolitical game. Her words, as always, were like razor-sharp daggers, taunting, mocking, and provocative. She openly ridiculed the statements of the former Trump administration, and continued to operate as the quiet but ever-present power behind Kim Jong-un. While her brother remains the official supreme leader, it is Kim Yo-jong who increasingly represents North Korea to the outside world, through her voice, her image, and her hard-line stance. She is the face that global powers can no longer ignore, the gaze that unsettles Western leaders, and the symbol of a growing force behind the curtain. And if, in the near future, Kim Yo-jong formally takes the reins in Pyongyang, it would not simply mark a transition of leadership. It could signal the beginning of a deeply unpredictable and volatile era, not just for East Asia, but for the world. As for the rest of humanity, all we can do is wait, and hope that day doesn't come too soon.